If the lights went out in your home right now, tonight, how many hours before your family starts struggling? Most people think they're ready. They have some canned food in the pantry, maybe a flashlight somewhere in a drawer. But here's what almost nobody thinks about until it's already too late. Having supplies and actually being able to use them are two completely different things. Today we're going over 12 items every household needs before summer ends. And the first one on the list, number 12, is so simple it's almost embarrassing that so many people skip it. But without it, every single one of the other 11 items becomes less useful. Stay with me, because the number one item at the end of this list is the one that determines whether everything else actually works when it counts. 12. A manual can opener. You might have 100 cans of food sitting in your pantry right now. Tuna, beans, soup, vegetables, fruit, meat, enough to last your family for weeks. But if the power goes out and you can't open a single one of those cans, you essentially have no food at all. That gap isn't solved by an expensive gadget or a complicated system. It's solved by one simple, cheap tool that most households don't have in working condition when they actually need it. The electric can opener mounted on your counter stops the moment the power cuts out, and that's usually when families discover that their backup manual opener is rusted, missing, or so stiff it can barely turn. Trying to pry open a can with a knife is slow, difficult to control, and genuinely dangerous, especially when access to medical help may be harder to get during a disruption. Emergency preparedness experts have included manual can openers on official supply lists right alongside canned food for decades. The reason is simple. Owning food and being able to reach that food are not the same thing. A resource you cannot access when you need it is not actually a resource. Here's what to do. Get at least 2 manual openers. Keep one in your kitchen and one in a separate emergency kit. If anyone in your household has arthritis, weak grip, or limited hand strength, look for models with wide, cushioned handles and an easy turn mechanism. Test them before you need them. Open a few cans and make sure the cutting wheel grips properly. Don't store both in the same spot. If a drawer gets stuck, a shelf floods, or you have to leave in a hurry, you want the second one in a completely different location. This item doesn't create food, it simply ensures that when your family is hungry and the power is gone, the last step between you and that meal can actually happen. 11. Heavy-duty trash bags. By the end of day 1 without power, things start piling up fast. Perishable food from the refrigerator needs to go. Wet towels are sitting on the floor. Regular trash collection may be delayed or suspended entirely. And if you only have thin grocery bags, you're about to make the situation much harder than it needs to be. Heavy-duty bags aren't just for throwing things away. During a power outage, flooding, or extended disruption, they help you keep things organized. Clean items stay separate from dirty ones. Food waste stays contained so it doesn't spread odors or attract insects. Wet clothing goes in one bag, dry clothing stays clean in another. Imagine everything in your refrigerator has started to spoil. Water from melting ice is pooling at the bottom. You're trying to sort through meat, eggs, leftovers, and dripping packaging all at the same time. A thin bag splitting open on the kitchen floor means starting the cleanup all over again. That's a small thing that makes a hard situation feel completely out of control. Choose bags that are thick, large enough to handle wet or heavy items, and strong enough that sharp edges won't tear through them. Beyond trash, they double as emergency storage. You can protect important documents, separate muddy shoes, keep damp clothes from soaking into dry supplies, or use them as temporary carry bags if you need to leave quickly. Keep one roll in the kitchen and a second roll in your emergency supplies. Label bags clearly as you use them. Trash, wet items, clean items. That labeling matters more than you'd think when multiple people are navigating a stressful situation in the dark. A bag won't stop a storm, but it can prevent the inside of your home from turning into chaos while the outside already is. 10. Basic hygiene supplies. Toilet paper, hand soap, paper towels, hand sanitizer, disinfecting wipes, and small trash bags. These sound like everyday items. That's exactly why most people wait too long to stock extras. The problem isn't that factories stop making these products during emergencies. The problem is that your entire neighborhood realizes on the same afternoon that everyone is running low.
By the time you remember you're down to your last roll of toilet paper, the person across the street just had the same thought, and now the shelves are half empty. By day 2, without power, it becomes noticeable. Paper towels get rationed. Surfaces don't get wiped down as quickly. By day 3, the stress of small inconveniences piling up in a hot, dark house starts affecting how everyone in the household is functioning. Simple hygiene tasks take longer. People feel less in control. That feeling spreads fast. Without soap, handling raw food waste, trash, or dirty items, and then preparing anything to eat becomes a real health issue. Without wipes and paper towels, spills spread. Without small bags for hygiene waste, clean items end up mixed with dirty ones. None of these problems are dramatic on their own, but together, in a confined space with several people and no power, they wear people down quickly. You don't need to overstock. Calculate what your household actually goes through in 1 to 2 weeks and buy that amount as a backup supply. Bar soap is a smart choice because it stores well, takes up little space, and is inexpensive. Hand sanitizer is helpful when running water isn't available, but it doesn't fully replace proper hand washing. Split your supplies between 2 locations so that if one area floods or becomes inaccessible, you still have the other. For older adults, choose items that are easy to open, don't have strong fragrances, and are stored somewhere simple to reach without bending or stretching. Which item in this hygiene group does your household tend to run out of first? Drop it in the comments below. You might help someone else catch a gap they hadn't noticed. 9. AA and AAA batteries. This is one of those items people skip because they assume they can grab some anytime. And that's true until it isn't. Batteries almost never warn you they're dying. A flashlight works perfectly on a normal night and then produces nothing on the night the power goes out. A radio sits ready in a drawer and turns on once before going completely silent. A digital thermometer reads a temperature just fine until the exact moment someone in the house has a fever and you need to check it. Federal energy data showed that U.S. electricity customers experienced roughly 11 hours without power on average in a recent year. 11 hours is long enough for a weak battery to turn essential equipment into useless plastic. Official emergency preparedness guidance specifically recommends keeping battery-powered devices and fresh spare batteries as part of any outage kit. Walk through each room in your home and list every important device that runs on AA or AAA batteries. Flashlights, headlamps, radios, thermometers, alarm clocks, remote medical monitors. For each one, have at least one full replacement set ready, then add a reasonable number of spares beyond that. Store new batteries in their original packaging in a cool, dry place and away from batteries you've already used. A mixed pile of old and new is just confusion waiting to happen. And here's the step most people skip. Test the actual device, not just the battery. A new battery won't help if the flashlight contacts are corroded or the device itself is broken. Rechargeable batteries work well in daily life, but during a long outage with no way to charge them, they become just as useless as a dead disposable. Fresh disposable batteries are still worth having as a backup. Which device in your home would cause the most trouble if it went silent tonight? 8. An LED headlamp. Think about trying to find someone's medication in a dark hallway while holding a flashlight in one hand. You have light, but you've lost the ability to actually do what you're trying to do. A headlamp doesn't just provide light, it points wherever your eyes are pointing, while keeping both of your hands completely free. Cooking, cleaning up spills, changing batteries, helping someone up a staircase, opening a first aid kit. All of it becomes easier when your hands aren't occupied holding a light source. A candle leaves your hands free, but only lights one fixed spot and creates an open flame in a situation where fire risk is already higher than normal. Health and safety guidance consistently recommends battery-powered lights over open flames during power outages to reduce the risk of house fires. An 11-hour outage means multiple trips through dark rooms, the bathroom, the kitchen, the medicine cabinet, checking on family members. Every one of those moments is safer with both hands free. For older adults, this matters even more. Falls are already a serious concern for people over 65. A dark home, hard-to-see obstacles, and one hand occupied with a flashlight create exactly the kind of unnecessary risk that a headlamp eliminates.
When buying one, look for a lightweight model with a large, easy-to-press button, an adjustable strap, and batteries that match what you've already stocked. A low brightness setting is worth having because it conserves battery life significantly. Get at least 2. Store them somewhere you can actually find in the dark, not both in the same drawer. Try them on before an emergency. Make sure every person in the household knows how to operate theirs. If the power went out in the next 10 minutes, could every member of your household find their light source within 30 seconds? 7. A battery-powered or hand crank radio. Sometimes the most dangerous part of an emergency isn't losing power, it's losing information. When the router loses power, the Wi-Fi disappears instantly. Cell networks often slow down or become overloaded when a large number of people in the same area are all trying to make calls, check news, and send messages simultaneously. Your phone might still have some battery, but every time you open a map, refresh a feed, or check an alert, that battery drains faster. And at some point, you're making decisions with no real information at all. Is the storm getting worse or moving away? Are roads passable? Has an evacuation been ordered for your street? Is the tap water still safe? A radio doesn't replace your phone. It creates a completely separate channel for receiving information when your usual sources are unavailable or unreliable. Look for a model that can pick up weather radio frequencies in addition to standard AM and FM stations. Weather alerts deliver official guidance. Local stations carry road conditions, shelter locations, utility updates, and area-specific instructions. A battery-powered model is simpler for most people. Choose one that takes the same battery type you've already stocked so you're not managing multiple sizes. A hand crank model adds a layer of backup but shouldn't become an excuse to skip stocking fresh batteries because cranking is slow and tiring. For older adults, button size, speaker clarity, and simple controls matter more than extra features. A radio packed with complicated modes that no one can operate under stress is no better than no radio at all. The most common mistake is buying one and never taking it out of the box. Install the batteries, save your local stations, test it at least twice a year. A radio that has never been turned on is not a backup plan. If your internet and cell signal both went down tonight, how would your family know what was happening outside? 6. A rechargeable or battery-powered fan. There is a temperature threshold most people have never heard of, and it matters a great deal once the air conditioning stops. Late summer heat doesn't disappear during power outages, it builds. Windows alone don't create enough airflow in most homes. Closed rooms trap heat quickly. After a few hours, the heat stops being uncomfortable and starts being physically exhausting. A battery-powered fan creates moving air in the immediate area where you're resting. It won't cool the whole house, but it can help your body feel significantly more manageable during those first few hours while you assess what's happening and decide on next steps. This matters most for adults over 65. Older bodies regulate temperature more slowly. Certain medications and health conditions increase sensitivity to heat. A fan buys time, but it is not a permanent solution. Health officials warn that when indoor temperatures rise above roughly 90 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 32 Celsius, moving hot air may actually stop helping the body cool down. Under those conditions, staying in front of a fan is not safe. You need to move to an air-conditioned space, a coolie center, a library, a community center, or the home of someone who has power. Know where those locations are before you need them. When choosing a fan, look for a stable base, multiple speed settings, and a clearly listed battery life. For older adults, large, simple controls and lightweight construction matter most. Confirm what power source the fan requires. If it has a built-in battery, keep the charging cable stored with it and recharge it regularly. If it takes replaceable batteries, make sure that size is already in your supply. A fan with a dead battery on the hottest night of the summer is not a cooling solution. Has your family already identified where you would go if the heat became unsafe at home? 5. A first aid kit and basic medical supplies. The most common mistake in medical preparedness is preparing only for serious accidents. During a power outage or storm, the situations that actually show up are usually less dramatic but still problematic. A cut from broken glass during cleanup, a fever that spikes after the pharmacy is already closed, a mild allergic reaction when roads are restricted and driving isn't easy.
On any normal day, these problems are handled in minutes. During a disruption, the same problem can stretch on much longer because the right supply isn't where you thought it was. Medication can't be found in the dark, or no one is quite sure what to do first. A practical first aid kit includes gauze, medical tape, disposable gloves, a thermometer, and wound cleaning supplies. Stock over-the-counter medications based on your household's actual history rather than buying everything on a long list and hoping for the best. For older adults, one of the most important items may not be inside the first aid kit at all. It may be a written list of prescription medications, dosages, known allergies, doctor contact information, and pharmacy details. That list, kept somewhere accessible and updated regularly, can make an enormous difference when someone needs help and the usual digital tools aren't working. Power outages create a specific medication problem that many families don't plan for. Some prescriptions need refrigeration. Some medical devices, including nebulizers, oxygen equipment, and certain mobility aids, depend on electricity. Don't wait until the power is already out to read the storage instructions. Ask your doctor or pharmacist now. Find out how long that medication can safely stay outside of refrigeration, how to store it temporarily, and what options exist for longer outages. A cooler with ice packs can help protect some medications, but requirements vary by medication. Never adjust doses or continue using supplies that may have been compromised by temperature without professional guidance. Open your first aid kit now. Throw out anything expired. Replace what's been used. Make sure every person in your household knows exactly where it is stored. When did you last actually open your first aid kit and look through what's inside? 4. A cooler and reusable ice packs. The moment the power goes out, a countdown begins inside your refrigerator, and most people have no idea how short that window actually is. Based on food safety guidelines, a refrigerator that stays completely closed will typically keep food at a safe temperature for roughly 4 hours. A completely full freezer can hold its temperature for around 48 hours. A half-full freezer is closer to 24. 4 hours sounds like plenty of time, but most households open that refrigerator door multiple times within the first hour without thinking about it. Someone gets water, someone checks the milk. Every time that door opens, cold air escapes and the safe window gets shorter. A good cooler and a set of reusable ice packs change that equation. When the refrigerator starts warming up, you transfer your highest priority items into the cooler: meat, fish, milk, eggs, leftovers, and temperature-sensitive medications. The goal is keeping everything below 40 degrees Fahrenheit or 4 degrees Celsius, but the cooler only works if the cold source was prepared in advance. Reserve space in your freezer right now for gel ice packs or frozen water bottles. They serve two purposes. They help keep the freezer cold longer during an outage, and they give you something to transfer into the cooler immediately when you need it. A small refrigerator thermometer, kept in the cooler when in use, takes the guesswork out of the situation. You won't have to wonder if the food is still safe. Don't try to save everything at once. Work through the list by priority. Temperature-sensitive medications come first based on professional guidance. After that, the most perishable foods. Once the cooler is loaded, resist the urge to open it constantly. The same rule applies as with the refrigerator. Every time you lift the lid, warmth enters and the cold supply diminishes. If you had only enough cooler space to protect 5 things right now, what would be at the top of your list? 3. A high-capacity power bank. A phone sitting at 10% battery during a power outage isn't 10% of normal convenience. It's a very small amount of time before one of your most essential tools goes completely dark. Phones today aren't just for calls. They carry contacts, medical records, offline maps, banking access, prescription information, and sometimes the documents you'd need most if you had to leave your home quickly. The problem is that during an outage, your phone drains faster than usual. When the Wi-Fi disappears, the device shifts to searching for a cell signal. A weak signal forces the antenna to work harder. You increase the brightness to read in low light. You check news, send messages, open maps. Every action is small. Together, they burn through the battery rapidly. Emergency preparedness guidance specifically recommends having an alternative charging method ready during power outages. A high-capacity power bank fills that role, but only if it's actually charged and ready when you need it. This is where
The power bank is in a drawer. The cable is in a different room. The battery hasn't been refreshed in months. Some people have never actually tested whether the bank can fully charge their phone because they only checked the indicator lights and assumed it was fine. Choose a model from a reliable manufacturer manufacturer. Look at the actual capacity versus the needs of your household's devices. Confirm it comes with or supports the cables and connectors your specific phones require. After buying it, run a full test. Charge the bank completely, then use it to charge a phone from a low battery to full and note how long that takes and how much capacity remains. Store the power bank with all its cables in a small bag or pouch. Keep that bag in one consistent, accessible location so that during an outage you're not hunting through drawers in the dark. When the power is out, treat the bank's charge as a limited resource to be distributed carefully. Devices needed for emergency alerts and family communication come first. Entertainment can wait. Offline maps downloaded in advance, battery saver mode, and reduced screen brightness can all significantly extend how long your phone stays functional. Avoid storing the power bank in a vehicle or anywhere that gets very hot or very damp. Recharge it every few months even if you haven't used it, because battery capacity fades over time regardless of usage. A power bank that isn't charged when the power goes out is not a backup, it's a missed opportunity. 2. No-cook food. Here's a problem most households don't discover until the first night of a real outage. You can have 2 weeks of food stored and still have nothing easy to eat. Rice requires heat and water. Pasta has to be boiled. Dried beans take significant time to prepare. Frozen meals depend on a functioning freezer. If electricity, clean water, and a safe way to cook are all disrupted at the same time, a fully stocked pantry can still leave you standing in the kitchen trying to figure out what you can actually make right now without any of those things. That's why no-cook food needs to exist as its own separate category, not just a general stockpile. Practical options include peanut butter, pouched tuna, pouched chicken, crackers, canned fruit, trail mix, nuts, protein bars, shelf-stable milk, and packaged meals that require no heat or water to eat. On the first day, this category lets your household eat without opening the refrigerator repeatedly, burning through stored water, or using fuel. On day 2, it continues to protect your cooking fuel and water reserves for situations where you genuinely need them. But stocking individual items isn't enough. Actually combine them into real meals in advance. Crackers with peanut butter, pouched tuna alongside canned fruit, shelf-stable milk with a protein bar and some trail mix. Test one fully electricity-free meal before an emergency. You'll quickly find out which packaging is nearly impossible to open, which portion sizes are too small, and which combinations your household will actually eat. For older adults, ease of access matters as much as shelf life. Packaging that's too stiff, lids that won't budge, portions that are too large, or textures that are difficult to chew can make a well-intentioned supply completely unusable. Also be mindful of sodium content. High sodium foods increase thirst, which increases how quickly you go through stored water. How many no-cook meals can your household eat right now without electricity or running water? 1. Drinking water and a water filtration plan. Water still flowing from your tap does not mean it's still safe to drink. That's a fact many families only discover after a notice has been posted and stores are already stripped of bottled water. Power outages, flooding, and disruptions to water infrastructure can affect filtration, disinfection, and the pumping systems that bring water to your tap in the first place. In some situations, the faucet still runs normally, but the water coming out of it is no longer safe for drinking, cooking, taking medication, or even brushing teeth. By the time an advisory goes out, the window for calm preparation is usually already gone. That's why water sits at the very top of this list. You can tolerate several hours without power. You can eat cold food if the stove isn't working, but a shortage of safe water immediately affects almost every other plan on this list. Medication requires water. Food preparation requires water. Hygiene requires water. Caring for anyone in the household who is elderly, very young, or managing a health condition requires water. It touches everything. The standard preparedness guidance suggests roughly 1 gallon of water per person per day as a starting point for at least 3 days. A household of 4 people needs about 12 gallons minimum, not counting extra needs from hot weather, physical act.
A few cases of bottled water sitting in a closet is a starting point, but it isn't a complete plan. A complete plan has 2 layers. The first is water you've already stored and can reach immediately. This gets your family through the first several days without having to go anywhere while conditions outside may still be disrupted. Store it in containers that are easy to lift, especially if older adults live with you. Divide it into smaller, manageable sizes rather than one large container nobody can carry alone. The second layer is a way to treat or filter water if the disruption extends longer than your initial storage covers. But this step comes with an important warning. Not every filter handles every type of contamination. Some filters remove bacteria and particles, but cannot remove viruses, industrial chemicals, or salt. Using the wrong filter gives you a sense of safety that may not reflect the actual risk. Local official guidance must always take priority over your own assessment. If a boil water advisory is issued, follow the instructions precisely. If contamination is chemical rather than biological, boiling may not help and can sometimes concentrate the problem. Never assume one solution covers every scenario. Rotate your stored water on a schedule. Keep it in a cool, shaded location. Make sure every person in the household knows which supply is designated for drinking and which can be used for cleaning and hygiene. Food gets your family through days. Water determines whether everything else on this list, the medication, the hygiene, the meals, the plan itself, can actually function. If your water supply were disrupted starting right now, how many days could your household manage comfortably? Here's what this entire list comes down to. A home full of supplies is not automatically a prepared home. What matters is whether those supplies can be found, opened, used, and accessed by every person in your household when the power is gone, the heat is building, and normal systems aren't working. You don't need to buy everything at once. Look at what you already have. Find the biggest gap. Fill it first. Then work through the rest. Real preparedness isn't about stocking up out of fear. It's about making fewer difficult decisions in moments when you're already tired, stressed, and operating without information. If this helped you spot something you hadn't thought about, hit the like button and make sure you're following my channel so you don't miss what's